What is up, everyone? Welcome to this week's edition of Against All Odds. This comes from Republic Beyond the Seas on Discord. You can join the Discord, drop a save file if you're having any difficulty in this game. And I'll try to crack it for you and make a video out of it. So, I'm gonna have a very intricate deployment this time. We have a horde of high experience Ashigaru and Samurai. Lots of bows. And we're lacking in both melee infantry and in cavalry. This is a matchlock Ashigaru only challenge. The only non-matchlock Ashigaru units are the garrison units and the generals. I was debating not using the generals or the garrison units just to keep it a true matchlock Ashigaru only challenge, but considering how difficult it was, how annoying this battle was, even with all the units, I wouldn't want to try and see what it's like using only matchlocks to win. Fort is lined with guns, it's just brimming with guns, and then there are these 3 more left. They don't have any spot on the walls. I'm trying to find the spot for them. The terrain over here is interesting. You can lead enemy units into a bit of a firing zone. There's lots of impassable terrain, and you can just block the path with a single Yari Ashigaru, forming a bit of a box on the inside. This is going to be defense in depth, so there's no way we're stopping them at the first level. No way. So I'm ensuring that they're going to, whatever progress they make, they're going to pay dearly. And I have the 2 generals outside. You'll see why. You'll see why in a second. And then the reinforcing matchlock Ashigaru, stretching them out into a line. Making sure everyone has guard mode on. Every single unit should have guard mode on. I need to keep guns firing for as long as possible. I sent out the generals, both generals, to pull the cavalry out, to lure the cavalry out, because otherwise they would go for the reinforcing matchlocks.
My lord, their general has fallen. A cutting blow.
And that is the main general gone, just like that, charging into a hail of gunfire. And now the rest of the cavalry are being led in front of the forts. The guns should open fire any second now. So we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. We got rid of the general, which is essential, and we also preserved the reinforcing matchlocks.
Our hidden units have been discovered, my lord. Our general is in grave danger, my lord.
And now I got a lucky break. The rest of the cavalry from the reinforcing enemy army is coming in. They're trying to go for the matchlock Ashigaru outside the fort. That's why I left them there. I know that cavalry will always try to beeline for any exposed range units. So they're trying to get through to the matchlock Ashigaru. Then they find a hidden Yari Ashigaru in the Yari wall, and they get skewered on the wall whilst they're getting shot. And weirdly, they're deciding to dismount. Even the reinforcing general, you can see the sort of gold like cone above his banner. He decided to dismount as well for some reason.
My lord, their general has fallen. A cutting blow.
That's already the 2nd time we've heard him say that, but that's not one of the main generals. I don't care about secondary generals. They can survive. I just need to ensure that all of the main generals actually get shot, actually die. They don't rout, they die. Because if we don't get rid of the generals, units will not shatter. They will break and then they will come right back. And we cannot repeat fights. We cannot fight multiple successive samurai attacks or samurai waves. We need to rout units. We need to shatter them. We do not have enough bodies. We don't have enough melee infantry to be able to take that fight. And I'm keeping this 1 general outside as a bait for all of these Yari infantry. So we're pulling all these Yari infantry away from the walls. Instead of climbing the walls, they're trying to catch the general, and then they're just getting shot. They're just getting shot the whole way. Slaughtered the whole way. And even the bows are coming within range of the guns, which is great. That's one issue. How do we deal with all the enemy archers? I placed the only bow Ashigaru I have on the far western part of the fort because that's where all the bows spawn. So that would just delay the bows. Instead of targeting my matchlocks, they would just target the bow Ashigaru, which I really don't care. And I'm zooming in. It's almost the reinforcing general is about to escape. And I was about to quit the battle over here, then I realized
Their general has fallen. A cutting blow.
and that's the last general, the most important general, gone. There are no more generals in the fight. My general almost died. My attention was elsewhere, but I'm glad I noticed just in time. So now we have cavalry dominance. The enemy army doesn't have any cavalry yet, so we have full freedom to run around the battlefield with our generals and lure and engineer fights. We need to keep on engineering fights. We need to keep on giving targets to our guns for as long as possible. And now I'm pulling this matchlock Ashigaru away from the walls because it's just getting picked off by archers. I want to force enemy archers to climb the walls. That's really important because that way they won't be able to fire. They'll have their firing interrupted until the whole unit crosses over the wall, which usually doesn't happen because they run immediately for the next wall, so the unit gets dispersed so heavily that they don't have a chance to fire. And I'm inspiring the Yari Ashigaru just to buy time. I need to buy time over here. The longer the fights last, the longer the fights last, the more time my guns have to fire. That's all we care about over here. Can we keep the guns firing? Can we give them as many targets as possible? There's no flanking, there's no hammer and anvil over here. It's just a question of defense in depth. And we're also pulling away a bunch of melee infantry with our general. I'm zooming in to make sure that our entire unit has perished, my lord. You know, you can never be too sure. Just making sure that the correct general died. We have a bunch of wavering units over here, but we just don't have... Because we don't have melee infantry, we can't deliver the coup de grace. We have to just wear down units completely until there are only 20 or 30 men remaining. And keep in mind, even though the general is dead, those units, a lot of them have 4 or 5 experience on them, and 4 or 5 experience samurais, so even against a hail of gunfire and with their general dead, they will last a surprisingly long time. And the Yari Ashigaru gave way. I'm pulling the matchlocks that were outside of the fort back inside, back into the Tenshu where they have unbreakable morale. That unbreakable morale is essential at this point because matchlock Ashigaru otherwise will just melt. They will just absolutely melt. Even in guard mode, they will melt. You can probably tell what I'm trying to do over here. I'm bringing in the reinforcing matchlock Ashigaru. They ran across the whole map, and now they finally arrived behind the fort in a long line. So any units that charge down the slope will have guns firing on them from the walls and guns firing from below. Just guns firing from every single side. Every single approach is covered by guns. There's nowhere that the AI can run without getting picked off by guns. General almost getting killed over here. Now it's all coming together. I was improvising this whole battle, this whole attempt, this battle has been the one where I've had to improvise the most in this series because of how random everything is. Like you saw earlier how they charged the cavalry, how they charged all their generals from the second stack without me even inciting it. Like I barely did anything and they ended up charging their main general and light cavalry out for me to kill them easily. That is very random. It's very hard to get that to happen consistently. I've had other attempts where that didn't happen and I had to fight all these units even though their general was still alive. I just had to wait for all the stars to align to actually get things to work. And I'm using my one decent melee infantry unit, the samurai retainers, to try and break some wavering units, fishing for wavering units and then breaking them. And once those units are broken, the morale debuff should spread to the other enemy units. Timer's starting to tick, but not for long. It's just a few models that went over to the flag, but they're gonna run back. And I'm using the general. I'm using the secondary general to get flanking charges on enemy units now. On this bow samurai that managed to make it to the Tenshu. I also had issues with the way matchlock Ashigaru were behaving. In some, like you can see right here, they're not firing. I have to give them the firing order. Like, weirdly, I have to give them the firing order or they just won't fire even if they do have targets. So just having to babysit units for no reason made this only added to the tedium of fighting this. Now you can see what I'm trying to do. Now you can see I'm pulling these units into the firing line of guns on the walls, but they're not going to charge for the walls. They're going to charge after the general. They're prioritizing the general, and then they're going to run down the slope. They are going to run down the slope while bullets are flying into their backs, and then they have another volley of bullets unleashed onto them from the front. From 4 matchlock Ashigaru. Getting fired on from every side. Every single matchlock Ashigaru here had an impact on the battle. Every single matchlock Ashigaru has been given targets. That's been a difficult one. There's so much difficulty in these battles when you have this much matchlock Ashigaru. How do you present... How do you give them targets? How do you present targets to all of them? Otherwise, you're just going to have half of them sitting for most of the battle, not doing anything. So, I had to use the generals. I had to use the generals to engineer fights and pull units around. And on top of that, I hate the color schemes. I hate the Otomo color scheme because it's kind of hard to distinguish them. You can control all, you can select all, but you don't have to do that with other factions. You can just look at the color schemes and you can tell, you can easily make out what's going on. And that's especially detrimental in these messy siege defenses where units are just all over the place. They're dispersed and all over the place, so you can't easily tell who's who. And because this save file kind of depends on winning this battle and winning decisively, there's no way I'm just letting all these units survive and run away, even if they're Yari Ashigaru. I need to pile on as many kills as I can before I give the save file back. And we could have run down the timer. He has the timer set to 20 minutes, so I could have tried something running down the timer, but it's kind of lame. And that is a close victory. We lost about half of the army to take out 6,600 men, more than 3/4 of theirs. At a 1-to-4 KD ratio, not too bad. It's just a shame. It's a shame that I had to lose this many matchlock Ashigaru. These are very potent units that I just lost. And down here, there are some matchlock Ashigaru with less than 300 kills, underperforming again because not all of them had the same level of opportunity provided to them. Some had more targets, had more favorable firing zones. So that was inevitable. Thank you so much for the save file, Republic Beyond the Seas. Send them away, guys, and I'll see y'all next time. Hey there, guys. I'd like to take a moment to announce that we have had our first patron on Patreon. I launched my Patreon just a few days ago. You can hope to find some content that didn't make it past the cutting room floor on my YouTube channel. So things like behind the scenes or raw footage, and even early access to some of my videos that'll go up on YouTube in the future. I cannot do my work without your support, guys, so I definitely appreciate it on Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!